everybody, this is Mike McCandless from McCandless Antique Auto. I want to go over this car today and give you guys a description of what we're doing and what's going on in the museum. We're just starting to produce a bunch of content, and this is one of the first cars, now that we're producing content, that will go under restoration. And so when taking a look at it, you're dealing with a 71 Hemi Cuda convertible. Not an original Hemi Cuda convertible, but at this point it's a recreation. But this was the car that my father raced in 1974 in NHRA Super Stock E. This was during the protest era when Mopar wasn't running in Pro Stock, but they would do some cars specifically for stock and super stock racing. The car was sponsored by Brooklyn Heavy, owned by Sox and Martin. Didn't run that many races, 4 or 5 races in total. I had known where the car was for a while and finally was able to come to a deal on the car here recently. And the engine that we have inside of here is actually the original engine from when Dad raced the car. This is obviously not the original intake manifold on it. It's got a Rat Roadster intake on it. And this car is going to go out to Greg Fernald at Superstock AFX. He did some of the restoration on the 65 car, the 67, and the deconstruction of the 68 car, and actually the 70 Duster that are in the collection that are Dad's old cars. And so we're going to do this car up a little differently than how I've done the other cars. It's really cool to have all the race cars, but the problem is I can only take them to an event and drive them around on the grounds. And to me, I think it would be really cool to make one of these into a street car. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to end up having the car painted to match exactly as it was done in 1974, but we're going to make it a very streetable car. And so instead of having like the Rat Roadster intake and all that stuff on there, we're probably going to end up using an Edelbrock fuel injection setup. Instead of having the standard 4-speed transmission that it would have come with, we will end up using a Jamie Passon 5-speed. So it'll look the same, but it'll make it very friendly for driving. We'll have the rear end gears according to tire size, which if you see, I don't know what happened during the years since my dad drove the car, but they tried to make it look like a Hot Wheels car. So these absolutely gigantic rear tires on it, which we will not be that absurd with it. But the goal is to make the car look exactly as it was in 1974, but have the ability for me to be able to drive it, because I think it'd be really cool to go to events, actually be able to drive the car and share the history that way. One of the problems our industry has is the only time we share history of these cars are at Mopar-based events, and then we're just sharing it with people who already know. So we have to be able to expand that out, and I think this would be a really cool way of doing it. So that's the goal with the car. Some other interesting facts: this was a factory 383 car. It was bought in Michigan by Sox and Martin and then driven down to Burlington. Since it was a 383 car, it actually did not have the inserts in the fender at that time. Dad ran one race with the fenders being totally filled in. NHRA did not like that because the car was being campaigned as a 71, so they hand cut the inserts into the fenders. So just some interesting history. Not a car that, you know, won class. It didn't, you know, win a national championship or anything like that, but really one of the final cars from Dad's history that I don't have that I'm pretty pumped up about. So we'll continue to do updates as the car moves along. I'll share them, and hopefully maybe into next year, maybe going into the start of 2024, we'll have this car on the street and ready for everybody to enjoy.